Hello and welcome to another episode of At Home with Dan. Today I'm going to be making a pasta dish. So I'm going to be doing a tomato sauce with fresh tomatoes, and I'm going to just be doing a really simple pasta dish. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get my pasta on to cook because it takes 10 or 12 minutes to cook. So I've got this absolutely beautiful, local to me, it's made about 10 miles up the road from me, so it's the Yorkshire Pasta Company. Fantastic. So I'm just going to get that straight into the water, and the only thing I've done with the water is I've got it on boil and it's seasoned with salt. There's nothing else in there. This whole thing of putting oil in water, it's stupidity, it's a myth. All you're doing is creating an expensive oil slick by putting good oil into water. It doesn't touch the pasta. So just water, salt. And when you season the water, you want to be able to taste the salt, so it almost wants to taste a bit like seawater. So I'm just going to get my pasta into there. And one thing you want the water to be doing is boiling as well. If it's not hot enough, the pasta is then just going to like stick together and go a bit weird, so make sure it's boiling. Just give it a little stir around when you first put it in, just so it doesn't stick together, and I'm just going to put the lid back on there to help it. So the next thing we're going to do is move on to the sauce. My sauce is literally 3-4 ingredients here. So we've got an onion, some garlic, these beautiful vine cherry tomatoes, salt and pepper, and then I've got some herbs and spices here which my parents-in-law actually brought back from Italy when they visited. So the first thing I'm going to do is just get my onion chopped up, so I'm just going to finely dice this. Now I'm just going to switch the pan on. And then I've also got the garlic, which I'm just going to thinly slice. I like to see some chunks of garlic in my sauce, it's quite nice. So that's a garlic slice. Now into the pan I'm going in with a really good extra virgin olive oil, and I'm not being shy, going with quite a lot. I think the flavour, you could use other oils, but the flavour of an extra virgin olive oil just kind of takes you back to being on holiday. Like the smell and the flavour of the olive oil just really transports you to being abroad. So the first thing I'm going to do into the warming oil is just add the garlic. And I'm just going to let that stay in there by itself for a few seconds as it's gently warming up. And what that's going to do is just infuse the oil with a really lovely garlicky flavour. And I don't want to get the pan too hot that it starts to colour the garlic too much. Already I can smell it, it smells absolutely amazing already. So I'm just going to give that a minute or so. In the meantime, I'm just going to take my cherry tomatoes and we're just going to take them off the vine. And I'm quite simply just going to cut these cherry tomatoes in half. And what they're going to do is they're going to cook down into the sauce. So a little trick if you wish to try it, but be very careful. This is quite a chefy way of doing it, but to save cutting every one individually, lay them out flat, press your palm down, keep them in place. Cut your knife through, and then you've just cut all your cherry tomatoes in one go. So the garlic's looking good there. I'm just going to add the onions to the pan also. So you just want to give these a little stir around. Once you've got the onions added to the pan, just cook them out for 2 or 3 minutes just until they're slightly softened, and once they're softened up we're going to add the tomatoes to the pan. Now the onions are lightly softened, I'm going to go in with the tomatoes, just straight in. And then one thing I always put into this tomato sauce as well is the vines themselves. If you take a vine and just have a little crunch up can smell it. It smells amazing. It has such a strong flavour and smell of tomatoes. Obviously you don't eat it, but you can infuse your dishes with the vine. Just make sure you take it out before you serve it. So I've got the onions, the garlic, the tomatoes, tomato vines in there. I'm just going to put in a little pinch of the Italian spice mix that I mentioned. And then also season with salt and pepper. And then we're just going to cook that down for 4 or 5 minutes, just until the tomatoes start to mush up a little bit. The tomatoes have been cooking down for about 3 minutes now, and they're just starting to soften and break down a little bit. One thing I'm going to do is just add a little bit of the pasta water to the tomato sauce, and that's just going to help them break down a little bit further and just create that kind of saucy consistency. So just taking a little bit of the pasta water, and then we just carry on cooking that down until it's gone to a really lovely saucy consistency and the tomatoes have all broken down. So as you can see, the tomatoes are all breaking down really nicely there. It's turning to quite a saucy consistency, looking really nice. I'm just going to carry on cooking that down. As you can see, it's a really simple sauce for a pasta, and theoretically, if you time everything quite well, the sauce should be ready around about the same time as our pasta's cooked. So if your pasta takes 12 minutes to cook, basically we're doing an entire dish from scratch in 12 minutes, which is fantastic if you're busy and you've got kids. It's a fantastic one to do with the kids. You can get the kids to chop the tomatoes for you and things like that. Something else you could add into this sauce as well if you wanted to is the rind of a parmesan. Quite often people use parmesan and they're left with the chunk at the end that you can't really use. You could stick that in, similar to the vines. Stick that in and it flavours the sauce through. Normally I would do this, but I actually don't have any parmesan in my fridge today, so I'm having to do with that. I've just checked the pasta and it is almost there. What I'm looking for is for the pasta to be cooked but to still have a little bite to it, a little bit of firmness, which we call al dente, so it's just slightly undercooked. Al dente literally translates into a bite. So now the pasta is nearly ready. What I'm going to do is just finish the sauce off. I'm just going to take the vines out. Just make sure you get all those out. Just give it a final stir up. So as you can see, it's just really mushed down and cooked down. You've got a really lovely, simple tomato sauce. And then I'm just going to grab my pasta. And then the Italian trick here, a lot of us Brits make the mistake of taking the pasta out, putting it into a bowl or on the plate and then spooning the sauce on top. Not how the Italians do it. What the Italians do is cook their pasta, drain it off, and then stick it into the sauce, and basically what that does is every piece of pasta then gets coated in the sauce. So now we've got our pasta in there, all we need to do is give it a really good mix around. So we've given it a really good mix around in the sauce. All the sauce is coated around the pasta. Every piece of pasta has a bit of the flavour on. I'm just going to take a spoon and I'm just going to spoon it out onto my dish. And if you've got any fresh basil or anything, you can garnish the top of it with some fresh basil. If you've got some cheese, you can grate some cheese onto it. What I'm going to do, just because I love it, black pepper, I'm just going to finish the dish with a touch of black pepper. And then there we have it, from scratch in 12 minutes, a beautiful pasta dish with a simple fresh tomato sauce. Tastes lovely, really quick and simple to do, and a fantastic dinner to do with the kids. Hope you enjoy that, guys. Take care, happy cooking, and I hope to see you soon.